Biden administration is lifting capacity restrictions, but not on America's public schools. Not on the thousands of American businesses that remain closed or only partially open, no. On border facilities. Detention centers to hold illegal alien teens can now reopen at full capacity as if COVID weren't even a thing. Also, we can continue to import an endless stream of migrants on your dollar while your children stay stuck at home and millions of Americans struggle with unemployment, bankruptcy, and endless restrictions. Meanwhile, thousands more migrants are streaming across the border, which now looks like a scene out of World War Z. Our detention centers are crammed full of kids, but totally aren't concentration camps anymore, promise. We're hemorrhaging cash to deal with this mess, and the whole time the White House refuses to say just how many people they're holding because, well, Circle Back Psaki says that's not their program, so how should they know? This is the Biden administration, where the policies are more incoherent than a CNN anchor on New Year's Eve, where responsibility is a four-letter word, and where the only thing about America they ever put first is our tax money, so they can give it to everyone else. President Biden has now told immigration officials they can reopen border detention facilities for migrant kids at pre-COVID capacity, citing extraordinary circumstances. And by border detention facilities, I mean the same exact ones that were used under President Trump that leftists called concentration camps and that got Trump labeled a Nazi. By migrant kids, I mean teens 13 to 17, or at least those that claim they are. And by extraordinary circumstances, I mean the massive wave of illegal aliens currently swarming our southwest border because Biden has told them that if they get here, they can stay, especially if they've got a kid with them. They're like the golden ticket on Willy Wonka. More than 13,000 unaccompanied alien children are expected to cross the southwest border in May alone. That blows any monthly totals that happened under Trump completely out of the water. In fact, here's an article I wrote last May when border apprehensions hit a 3-year low. Those were the days. Anyway, Biden can't send all those people back to Mexico to wait for their asylum hearing there because, well, he called Trump a xenophobe for doing that. So now he's got to deal with the giant mess he's created by promising open borders and amnesty during his campaign. How's he do that? Well, he's opening new border facilities to process all these people who flocked here to take advantage of our new policy. The New York Times reported this week the number of illegal alien kids being held in border detention centers has tripled in the past 2 weeks and is now around 3,200. But of course, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki is refusing to say just how many kids the administration is holding because it's not our program.
We've been very clear that there is an increase, that there are more children coming across the border than we have facilities for at this point in time. Those numbers are tracked by the Department of Homeland Security, so I'm just suggesting that you talk to them about specifics.
Well, we talked to them, Jen. They won't confirm the numbers.
Well, I would encourage you to go back to them and ask them again. We're not going to confirm them from the White House. It's not our program. It's the Department of Homeland Security.
Not your program? The frick you mean not your program? The Department of Homeland Security, Health and Human Services, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Customs and Border Protection. Literally every single department and agency tasked with dealing with illegal aliens and unaccompanied minors falls under the purview of the executive branch. They are all your programs, Brain Trust. They're your stupid policies that kicked off this mess. They're your detention camps these kids are being shoved into like cattle. They're your border agents being told to turn these people loose in droves. You own this whole thing, from the paper that executive order was written on to the buildings we've got crammed full of people because you told them they could come here. All yours, not our program. Shut the front door. In fact, the only thing the White House doesn't do is shuck out the cash for this crap. That'd be Congress. One new facility reopened in Texas can hold up to 700 migrant kids at a time for about 30 days on average each. This one facility costs taxpayers about $542,000 a day, and this is what it looks like. We'll just call them compassion camps. Totally different now. Even though this was the same exact facility Trump used and got called a Nazi for, AOC isn't standing outside the fence crying anymore, so it's super different. As far as making sure these packed-out camps don't become COVID incubators, well, no luck there. The Biden administration has already warned immigration officials to, quote, plan for and expect to have COVID-19 cases, and that there is no zero-risk scenario for avoiding outbreaks, which means that not only Are we compassionately shoving thousands of migrants into crowded detention facilities where they could catch the Rona and die? We're also knowingly and intentionally exposing our own border agents and immigration officials to a disease that yesterday was so deadly they shouldn't even go to the gym. And then, once these people are processed, we're handing them a court summons and a bus ticket off to God only knows where to infect you. In San Diego, taxpayers who are struggling under this craptastic COVID economy are now shelling out thousands of dollars to put hundreds of illegal aliens up in high-rise downtown hotels to quarantine them for 2 weeks before they are released into the country. In Brownsville, Texas, local officials started handing out rapid tests at a bus station where migrants were waiting for their ride to Your Town, USA, after being released from Border Patrol just hours after getting caught crossing the border illegally. Hours! Since they started testing in late January, about 6% of the tests have come back positive. The Brownsville authorities say they have no legal right to detain these people because they'd already been released by immigration. So they got on the bus, infection and all, and set off for whatever state they were headed to. North Carolina, Wisconsin, wherever. Even though they had just come across the border illegally and were infected with a virus so deadly that we continue to bankrupt tens of thousands of our own small businesses over it. This is a disease so deadly that our kids can't sit in a classroom for fear that they might catch it and spread it to grandma. But not so deadly that we can't just import piles more of it at the border to appease brainless leftists who run around screaming Nazi at everything they don't like. How does this make sense? In Harlingen, Texas, it's even worse. One man who owns a shelter there said 25% of the first group of migrants bused to his facility after being released by border agents tested positive for COVID. But he couldn't do anything about it, so they just stopped testing them because they knew these people were getting on a bus or a plane the next day. Then again, we've been importing murderers, rapists, drug dealers, drunk drivers, and gangbangers for years, so I guess deadly pathogen is just one more thing to add to the list. Whatever. This is the Biden administration. Their plan is like Joe trying to say a word with more than 2 syllables. It just makes no sense whatsoever. This president has no problem opening up the floodgates to thousands of COVID-infected people, packing them in like cattle at detention facilities that 4 months ago were being called prison camps, then pumping them out into our communities, all while millions of our kids sit at home, unable to go to school, staring at a computer screen while their grades fall and their mental health suffers, and while Congress spends trillions of dollars on COVID relief that has nothing to do with actually helping Americans. But God knows we can spend $500,000 a day on one facility to house migrant teens because we've got all kinds of cash to burn. Your cash. This is the Biden administration. It's not just America last, it's Americans last. American businesses, American children, American taxpayers, American people last. You last. And the only thing of yours that the left cares about at all is your money. So they can take it and give it to everyone else. Get used to it. Because this is the next 4 years. And that's your Reality Check America. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube and Rumble pages, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and try to stay sane out there.